Welcome to the Ascend Your Success podcast. Whether you're just starting out or are a veteran looking to grow your business, you're in the right place. Join us to learn how to achieve financial freedom while working and living life on your own terms. Hear valuable insights, strategies, and interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Get ready to achieve the success you've always dreamed of. Ready? Let's go.
What's going on, guys? My name is Wyatt Reed, and this is the Ascend Your Success podcast. And today, I get to interview my friends, Brandon Hardiman and David Barnett. Man, thank you guys so much for being on. We're in the same market. We've been in real estate for close to the same time. I think you guys have been in it a little bit longer than me. But, man, if y'all could just tell us a little bit about y'allself, pre-real estate, and give us an introduction of who you are, and let's get rolling from there.
Okay. I'll let you start, David.
Yes, sir. I guess a little bit about me, before real estate, I made $12 an hour selling copiers and copier accessories and printer paper, like Jim from The Office, you know what I mean? Just much better looking. And Pam did not work there. But anyway, yeah, I made $12 an hour doing that, and got a job working out on the Arsenal. I was in the military prior to that. Got a job working out on Reston Arsenal, the Defense Intelligence Agency. Felt like I finally was coming up, making my $21 an hour raise out there. I just hated it. I just absolutely hated it. And so one day I just put in a 2-week notice without telling my wife, and told her I was going to get a real estate license. Probably should have got it first. Could have been a much better planner there, but just jumped off the deep end, and here we are, man.
Yeah, you got. Sometimes you got to do that, man. Like that's.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself against the wall sometimes.
You have no idea. We had no savings.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. I actually, as most guys in Huntsville and the surrounding area, was an engineer. It's the whole reason I moved to Huntsville, a mechanical engineer, and I was cruising through life. I mean, I was happy. Things were fine. Things were good. Normal W-2. I thought that was, what I wanted, and I just do that for the next 30 years, and we saved up some cash. Things. I didn't come for money, so all of a sudden I had some money sitting in the bank, and I was like, I don't, what am I going to do with it, right? So I went to Google. Google led to Bigger Pockets, and that led to rabbit hole after rabbit hole and an obsession with real estate, right? And so I was like, plan was still always to keep the W-2 and just burn my way to a portfolio of rentals to retire early, and buy from wholesalers and buy stuff off market. Spent 3-4 months doing that and realized wasn't as easy as they made it sound. And so
right.
I followed someone on one of the podcasts, I think on Bigger Pockets, talked about go find deals on Craigslist, right? And sure enough, I did, right? I went on Craigslist. I started calling the for rent by owner landlords and called one up, and he was trying to evict a tenant, and got it under contract. And this is a story how I got to wholesaling, was because I got an inspection done, and I thought, sucks. I don't want to do that. I'm scared. The rehab's too big. I told him I'm not interested. All right. And so I went along my way looking, and then 3 months later, I come across one of the wholesale lists I'm on, this same property being sent out for $80,000 more than I had it under contract for. And come to find out, they paid $30,000 more than I had it under contract for, and made a $50,000 wholesale fee. One of our biggest competitors in this market, the biggest. And so that's when I realized I was doing something wrong, and that there was money in wholesaling to be made, and that kind of led to that kind of beginning path there.
Yeah. Dude, I have a very, very similar story to that. I was a manufacturing engineer as well. You were mechanical. I was manufacturing, and I got there like I flunked out of college, and I actually was going to college for engineering, but I got an engineering job with an engineering salary before some of my buddies graduated from college, just because I got in and I worked my butt off and worked my way up into it, right? While still finishing a degree, but I took the long way around, and I got to where I was like, man, I'm where I thought I wanted to be in life, and I don't like it. So
exactly.
Like you, I took to YouTube. I found Chris Crone, man, and I obviously didn't want to pay him, but he drove a nice car and had a big house, which was probably rented or, just for that video. But I was like, man, I got to do this. This is what I want to do. So you kind of told us a little bit about your first deal. That was huge, obviously. So David, what about you? What you got into? You took a different path and went to the realty side of things. What made you make that decision? Did you just not know anything about investing, or how'd that decision
Yeah, I knew
go?
nothing about investment. Amy, my wife, wanted to be in real estate. She was getting into real estate. She's the one that kind of pointed me in that direction. Her best friend was a real estate agent, and they came from a similar background where there's like a church where a stay-at-home mom, you know what I mean? And so she'd been a stay-at-home mom for years, and her friend had as well, and she got a real estate license and was selling some houses and making an income supporting her family as a single mother. So she was like, if she can do it, I can do it, you know what I mean? And that's what led her and me getting into it. And so I saw, one commission, and I started adding at 3% on everything, and I'm like, I'm missing something, you know what I mean? That's more than I'm making like a couple of months here, and I'm working my butt off 80 hours a week, or 40 hours a week, I mean.
Yeah.
So I got a real estate license, and really had no intentions of getting in the investment space. I had zero construction background other than helping some people do random things here and there, as a young guy doing odd jobs here and there. I really had no intentions of getting into the investment stuff until an opportunity kind of presented itself, and I'm kind of a jump off the cliff and figure out, a way to land, you know what I mean? Figure it out on the way down, And so we bought a flip for like $13,000, bought a 2,000 square foot house because it was in that kind of shape, mold and, pretty much everything. And so I just, bought a respirator and went to work and figured it out, flipped that, made a bunch of money, and was like, this is easy. I put like $15,000 worth of materials because materials were still cheap, and then bought another house off the MLS, my second flip off the MLS, and learned how much, shit could go wrong. What can go wrong on a flip? Did everything wrong, had that house for 2 years. And it was a mess. It was a disaster. It was a disaster, absolute disaster. So all the money that we made on the first one was gone, but we had a great education and a good start, and thankfully a high pain tolerance, because we did it again.
Yeah,
so,
that's what
launched
I say sometimes.
Space.
Yeah, I say sometimes I think we're the crazy ones, like, why in the world are we doing this stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So how did you guys end up meeting?
So, I was on Bigger Pockets, and I'd been networking on there with other investors around here, and one was a guy out of California, actually. His name's Gordon, and he was a buyer here. And so I've been, because I was starting to get into wholesaling, and so I was talking to him, and he was coming into town, and I said I was going to meet him at a property he was walking. Another wholesaler sent him. And so I showed up, and David was there. And so David was friends with Gordon. So it was just and then me and David found out we lived in the same neighborhood.
Gordon was staying at my house.
Yeah.
Like he flew, he didn't get a hotel. He stayed in my guest room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's just like we started having the conversation, we shared numbers, and I was still full-time on my W-2. So I didn't have time to do all the calls I needed to do, right? I was learning the lead generation game, getting the leads in the door, the systems, the processes, but I didn't have time to make those calls. And so we just decided there, like, hey, let's just partner on a per deal basis for now. You call the leads or the acquisition stuff, and let's just see kind of where it goes. And then just kind of,
we did a deal really quick.
Yeah.
And then one of our first, we had a little wholesale deal that we did, but our main deal that kind of like solidified a partnership was a flip of a quadplex, and that's kind of the deal that we can deep dive into because it says a lot, and shows a lot. And we were looking back on it, getting ready, to talk to you, and it's actually very interesting to look at like where we were to where we came to. And so love to deep dive into that. That'd be dope.
I'm down to deep dive a deal for sure. Let's save that closer to the end though, because I want to dive into this. That was like doing the partnership on a per deal basis right out the gate. I think that's super, super important until you find out, like, is this somebody that I can do long-term business with? Because people just jump into partnerships so quick and they don't even know people, and it ends up 9 times out of 10 really bad. And I always say, like, me and John had a really good partnership because we knew each other before, we had a good friendship, we looked at deals before, and every single month we got together and we said, hey, we had owners meetings. Hey, how do you feel about me? How do I feel about you? How do we feel about doing business together? Like, are we happy? Are we not? Like, what's going on? And I think that's so key to having a good partnership. So I like how y'all done that to start out with.
Yeah, that didn't last long though. I mean, it didn't, because I mean, I had partners in the past, right? Like I had 3 different partners before Brandon. Neither of those lasted more than 30 days. So that's, you learn the importance. I was really decided not to partner with anybody at that point. I was like, I'll just flip a house here and there, keep it pretty relatively small, keep my real estate agent business going, because that's really what was my income source, really, because my wife and I did that together from the house. So I was pretty content with that and just buying, flips and doing those, 1 and 2 at a time.
Mm-hmm. So when you guys went into partnership together, what did that look like? Was the goal to just make a wholesaling business or to hold properties together? Like, what did all that look like?
Honestly, at first, it was mostly wholesaling. Like, that's what we thought we were going to do more of. And then, I think I joined a mentorship, sub-2 mentorship with Pace Morby a little before we'd met too. And so I was getting involved in creative financing a lot. And so I was bringing that, mindset and skill set. So like, it was like, hey, we're going to wholesale. We're going to take that. We're going to roll it into entry fees for creative financing deals, sub-2 deals to hold long-term. Yeah. And that was kind of like, the initial starting point, right? Because you got to start somewhere of some kind of goal and direction. You never know exactly where you're headed in this business. You're always going to be changing, adapting as you learn things. But at the time, that was kind of what was in our head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And also, just like, you guys are also go-givers. Like, I know that you just mentioned the sub-2. I know you guys done something with Casey, one of our students, not long ago, and walked her through a sub-2 deal, and it was an awesome deal from what she was telling me. So I think that also speaks to you guys, about y'all's character and wanting to be go-givers. Obviously, you're going to make money on the deal, but a lot of people will keep that stuff close to the hip. So that's very awesome. So
why not?
All right, so
mostly.
Yeah, you can't give it all.
I mean, this industry is you think about it, like, it's a pretty tight-knit, small community, right? And so if you don't, you ruin your reputation, it's going to come around to you for sure. And so quickly, super important relationship building stuff. So
yep, you've got to do good. And I was just talking to Nathan Payne about this. It's like, you've got to have the right heart for this. Like, you've got to want to help solve problems, want to actually help people, not just get over on them, right? Because that's going to come back to you if you're not, right? And you're going to do more business because you're that way, though, right? 100%. So you got to have a heart for it, for sure. All right, so before we get into the deal, how long ago was that when you first started partnering?
October, November of 21.
Yeah,
that time,
somewhere in that range.
So yeah, 3 years. It's not long, but it probably feels like an eternity, right? At least that's how mine has been.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you give me an anniversary gift.
Yeah. That's me. Y'all sound like me and John.
Him and my own wife.
Fair enough.
That's my wife gave us such a hard time the first couple of years, because they were like, you talk to each other more than you talk to us. And it's like, well, but
yeah.
So how has things changed for you? Have you done any changes in the last 3 years that, have you made any shifts over COVID or anything like that? What does your business look different like today than it did 3 years ago?
It's a completely upside down. It's completely different.
That's what everybody says.
Brandon runs all the acquisitions pretty much, which is, strange, because that was really the original plan when we were going to do wholesaling. Was I was going to do acquisitions and he was going to do disposition, like back in, the integrator type stuff. Still does that, right? And I don't know, it looks so different now when you think about it, because I mostly focus on our projects, and I wouldn't say that we're a wholesale company. I would say we rarely wholesale.
Yeah, we slowly transitioned from, we were wholesaling, and then we're like, okay, let's start doing some flips. We had access to some capital, start doing some more wholesales and stuff. And then, as you do a few of those, you're like, well, I don't want to wholesale it and just make a small piece of this. If we figure out the flipping game, we can start getting bigger chunks of this. We can start holding more, figuring out more exit strategies. And so we started doing more rehabs. We don't wholesale as much anymore. We still will, if it makes sense. But even then, sometimes we're like, let's just take it down and put it on the market.
Catch us at the wrong time and our contractor's too busy, right? Like, we'll wholesale it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Like
going to sit on it for 2 months.
One of your students, Gatlin, he called me right before this and asked if I had anything. I told him we're pretty tapped out now. So if we get another one this week, I'll give you a call. So,
Yeah, man.
But what we had a big shift about 5 months ago. We had scaled up pretty big. We paid for some pretty expensive coaching. It's good coaching to create a scalable business, right? I mean, we were spending $30,000-$40,000 a month on marketing, pretty good sized payroll, lots of overhead. And yeah, I mean, we were bringing $150,000 months, right? They were starting to stack up, but all of a sudden it wasn't fun anymore.
Sucked.
It sucked.
We were most stressed to the max.
Max stress,
feel you.
different problems, right? Yeah, you're not involved. The whole goal was like, okay, I hire these people and then I can work less and not work in the business. Well, what you realize, there's levels to a business, right? And so we got into that level where it was extra stressful. We had to make the decision, hey, we have to go hire, mid-level managers basically in leadership if we really want to replace ourselves, which means more people we have to hire, more payroll, more risk,
More deals we have to
do, more capital we have to raise, more marketing. And, we're going into unknown times in the economy right now. Who knows what's on the horizon? And like, neither of us want this massive operation. We didn't see the need for that risk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We jokingly made the comment about shutting it all down one day.
Over text.
And then I think David was like, I'm serious. And I was like, I'm serious.
He's like, if you're serious, I'm serious. Bro, let's meet about it in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so we went and looked at, our KPIs, which is another reason it's important to have those, and looked at where a lot of our bigger deals were coming from, better deals were coming from, and how if we could just focus on those and have a much smaller, leaner operation, could we still meet our goals, what we wanted to do? And we discovered we could.
And then some.
So the next day we laid off. We had hired a girl the week before. We still have her. She's like kept her. So I'm sure this scared the hell out of her. But we fired her pretty much. Yeah, fired everybody else. Let them go. It was a tough decision, right? We had a good culture, a good team. Let everybody work.
We had a great culture. It was, we really cared about our culture. We cared about the environment that everybody worked in, including our VAs. You know what I mean? So, even our VAs, we had VAs in 4 different countries. You know what I mean? So, we all had a really great, just a really great atmosphere. And we had team meetings, and everybody knew everybody, and we talked about gratitude every day and that sort of thing. So we really enjoyed that. We did take care of them. We didn't just say, hey, peace out, and you guys don't have a job anymore. We did pay for them to have some time, a severance package for each person. We were the ones making that decision. It's night and day different. I was so stressed out, and immediately when he was like, yeah, let's shut it all down, and we let everybody go, like, huge weight. I slept like a baby, bro.
Yeah. Dude, I tell people all the time, my most stressful time was when we started hitting right at that 6-figure mark a month. That was the worst time of my life. The worst. Yeah. I was unhealthy. The family was like stressed. I was not sleeping. And when we scaled back down and like, I let go of all that anxiety and stress and stuff like that. And dude, it's so amazing what you can accomplish without the big team as well. Like you can, like you said, as long as you're focused on the right things, you can accomplish that without all the ginormous expenses that come with it, So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we just have the right people now. The people, the person that we hired the week before, if I could go back, I'd hire that role at the beginning. It made a huge difference. And then
we're scared to bring on someone like a local, salary, like, a local salary type position that had experience.
That wasn't income producing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We wanted to hire salespeople because they brought in more money, but this person doesn't bring in money at all. But we realized that that's not true at all.
But they give you more time.
Not at all. Yeah, tons of time.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we're really not, the funny thing is we're not doing less deals. Like,
we might be doing more at some points, man.
They're just like, they're falling into our laps more. We're being pickier.
We brought in a salesperson. who is just a much better salesperson.
Yeah, we went back and brought on the commission only. You figured out, like, look, we're not going to be babysitting you. If you bring us deals and we lock them up, you'll get a commission, but we're not going to stress over getting deals or not getting deals.
Or paying you a salary.
Or training you. And maybe that's not the best way to go for a legit organization, but it's working for us right now. And we have a lot less stress.
No, I'm not thinking it.
Yeah.
The salary plus, we were doing salary plus commissions.
Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead,
success is getting a good night's sleep. And sorry, there's a little bit of lag, I think, but I think success is getting a good night's sleep.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about this deal. Let's finish it up and talk about this deal. Talk to us about how you found the deal, how you got it funded, and tell us everything about it from front to beginning or front to end.
Yeah, I'll talk about how we found it. So I bought a quadplex with a different partner. This is before Brandon and I were partners, right? So this is as we were becoming partners. So I bought a quadplex to do Airbnb model out of. We renovated the quadplex, and I just kept looking at this quadplex that was next door to it. And the roof was caving in, the porches were falling off. I'd go look through the windows, and it was not livable. No one lived there. It was just like an abandoned piece of property. And I'm like, I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed. I was like, I want this property. So Brandon deep dove it, deep prospected it or whatever, found a daughter. We jumped through so many hoops and just came to nothing. And so every time I went over there, I'm always looking for, like, somebody's going to be over there one day eventually. And one day I saw a truck out there, and I just ran across the yard and went over there and talked to the guy because I thought it was a maintenance guy. I'm like, hey, man, who's your boss? Who paid you to be here? But the guy was like 80, so that's not how I started the conversation, I told him I was looking to buy it. He was super stressed out. He was working on the property himself. He's got one arm, you know what I mean? Like, dude, what in the heck are you doing trying to renovate this quadplex that is, like, almost in disrepair? And so, I made him an offer and I said, would you be interested in selling it? And he said, yeah. And I was like, would you take $230 for it? And he said, yeah. And I said, don't leave. I got to go to my house. I'm going to grab a contract. I'm coming right back. You know what I mean? And we signed that.
Called me on the way.
I called Brandon. I was like, bro, you won't even believe this, And we were super stoked. Yeah, I got a contract from the house, from Brandon's house. Drove back over to the quadplex, signed the contract on the hood of my car. And we worked out a plan. And that's when it all started. Everything was smooth selling from there. Right. We made millions of dollars.
I mean, we'd spent 3 months trying to find the owner of this property too. I mean,
yeah,
we'd gotten in contact with the daughter and told us that she's been trying to talk her dad into selling and stuff, but then she ghosted us. And so kind of given up until David finally saw him. But that was the first one we decided to flip. And
numbers were sweet on it.
The numbers were so good, we felt like we couldn't lose. There was times we probably by the end, we probably felt like we lost at the end.
Which is funny.
Until we reviewed until we looked at the numbers again before this call to kind of reminisce on this deal. Because we looked at it, it was like, we can wholesale this and make a $50K wholesale fee, right? We're like, or we can flip it and make $150 minimum was what we thought. And so we wholesaled it to ourselves for a $50K wholesale fee. So then, because we were still in the growing stages, we needed cash in the business now. So we assigned it from one entity to the other so that we could get $50,000 up front and to infuse into our business to get us kicked off. And that did help get us kicked off.
Yeah, we did the private. What do we do? Private money on
private money.
Yeah. Private money. The one entity put a roof on, put a porch on, and then that was about all that we saw. And we kept getting draw requests every week, and so
we were paying them.
Because we weren't going over there and just babysitting him. He's a grown up. He's a contractor. He's going to do his job, right? So finally, I go over there one day, like nothing really is done, and we've got $85,000 sent to this contractor. We got a roof, and we got some porches that were poorly done. And so I called him, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? He got super offended that I called him out and said, peace out, done, which is really strange, but yeah, I mean, he was out. And so then we had to kind of like figure out another solution, and we're new to flipping, so we didn't really have like a big contractor database to pull from, and didn't have people knocking down our door to work for us either, So then we found somebody else on Facebook. On Facebook. That was a nightmare. We were $40-something thousand into that. So we're already at 120.
Yeah. So when we get done, we spent $190,000 $2,000 on the renovation compared to our 120.
You're right.
When it's all said and done, we still made another 50,000 in profit. So we made 6 figures of profit.
We made 102 grand on this, and it only took us 6 months. It felt like we had that. I felt like I owned that property like 10 years. I honestly still am stunned when we just talked about that. We only had that property for 6 months, because that's really not terrible for 4 years. I mean, these are 1,200 square foot apartments, new kitchens. These were gut jobs. Right. So really, we went through a lot of crap with contractors, but man, it did get done. We did work through request repairs, and we did sell it for where we wanted to sell it quickly.
We got paid 6 figures for a universe.
Dude, that's insane. Yeah. So I mean, it obviously goes back to buying right. I mean, y'all completely messed up, and you still made money. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
No, if we had bought that to like our max offer, so he took the first offer that I gave him. I mean, complete lay down. You know what I mean? He was tired. It was hot. He was ready to sign a contract. It was May, in Alabama. He was ready. He was ready to be done. So I called him at the right time. But yeah, if we had bought that for what I thought our max allowable offer was on that, we would have
lost money,
or broke even. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I knew what the comp was. I just bought next door neighbor's Quadplex like 2 months.
Quadplex.
I knew the comp, bro.
That's crazy. Well, tell us, give us. So most of the people that are listening to this, they're brand spanking new. They're trying to figure out how to get into real estate. So, what is some advice that you guys would give them, looking back at everything you guys have accomplished and done and failed and won, and what would you give them? What would you tell them to do? How to start, or give them some type of advice?
Yeah. So first of all, is don't be scared of coaching. I've paid for coaching mentorships, and it's helped me tremendously jump hurdles, right, to get there. Now, some people maybe can't afford that, and so there's great free options to get you started out there. But the biggest thing is why you do need to educate yourself. You need to know how to underwrite a deal. You need to know, what you're looking at. It's so easy to get stuck in the analysis paralysis stages and not just get started, get out there. You don't have to have all the tools in your tool belt. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to know who has the tool that you can go borrow or, get used. You can go. So just get out there and start talking to people, knocking on. Don't be scared to knock on doors. Don't be scared to cold call. You don't have to have all these shiny objects and stuff when you get started.
Right.
It's not that complicated of a business, really. At the end of the day, right? I mean, it takes a grind and hustle, and it takes talking to people.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we make it overcomplicated ourselves as we get into it.
Yeah. No doubt. We've definitely gotten our own ways more than. Yeah, I mean, I'll do like two little pieces, kind of touch on two things we talked about. The first thing, would be like the partnership stuff. My biggest piece of advice on the partnership stuff, I think I learned it from like Kevin O'Leary randomly watching like Shark Tank one day, and it was like a commercial or whatever. And he's like, so many people out there would be great, like number 2 people, and they're so caught up and they're so prideful about being that number 1. Like everyone in our immediate industry, like everyone in our office knows that really the buck kind of stops with Brandon. Like, you have to put your pride aside. I'm not the number 1 front runner in our company. If we have a disagreement, Brandon holds that 51. You know what I mean? I'm that 49, he's that 51, just because that needs to happen. And so I think that's really important to remember, that if you have a partner, there will be times that you're going to disagree on stuff, but one of you has to make a decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. You both can't die on the hill across from each other. That's when you're going to break up. So somebody has to be the ultimate voice like that. I think that's super important. Even though you are still a partner, Brandon and I are still 50-50 owners, I know that there comes a time where I have to put my pride away and be like, okay, I accept that, because Brandon's not going to do anything that's going to negatively impact our business. You know what I mean? It's his business too, so you have to understand that, as long as everyone's going in the same direction, the right moral path or whatever that you're on, you have to trust your partner. And if you can't trust your partner to make that decision, you shouldn't be partners with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the second one was on the grind. That is what it takes. It takes phone calls. It takes driving by. It takes seeing someone in the driveway and going over there and knocking on their door. It takes talking to people. You're not going to sit at home and make a bunch of money in wholesaling just looking at stuff on the internet. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a fact. Well, how can people like get a hold of you and follow your journey? Because I know you guys post some of your stuff and buy deals from you, and like how can people get a hold of you to work with you guys?
Yeah, honestly, like email, we're both really about checking our email. It's David or Brandon at YH Homebuyers. That's our email domain, at YH Yellowhammer Homebuyers, at Yellowhammer Homebuyers, whatever. David or Brandon, either. And that's really the best way to get in touch with us.
Well, you can find us on Facebook too. I mean, we're not bad. We're not good at social media. That's something that we talk about probably twice a week. That we're like,
It's a
we need to do
pain.
better.
It is a pain.
Better.
Yeah,
It's just not either. I mean, David, it's more David's thing than mine. Even like, it's just
I care more than he cares about it.
it's not my personality to get out there and do, be out there active
Y'all
and
sound
posting,
Y'all sound like
I'm
me and
active.
John.
responding. And so, yeah, if someone reaches out to me to connect on there, that's a good place to connect.
Yeah. Facebook's a good one. I post stories of our flips and stuff, so I guess that is true. I said emails, so focus on emails. But if you really wanted to talk to me, email. If you want to see what we're doing, Facebook.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. You guys are go-givers. It's been an awesome conversation. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Wyatt, man. I really appreciate that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Let's get together.
Well, hey guys, if you heard anything that you liked in this conversation, do me a favor, like, share, comment, rate, do whatever you can with whatever platform that you're listening to. If you heard something that you like though, and you want to have a conversation about possibly getting into real estate, then just go to ascendyoursuccess.com, fill out an application, and I look through them personally and I talk to you personally. It'll just be me and you, and whether you're in or you're out, we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome.